Remember walking into a corner store, $1 in your pocket, and walking out with pure chaos? Snacks that fizzed, glowed, or left your fingers neon orange. We didn't ask if they were safe, we just loved them. But one by one, they disappeared. Not because we changed, but because the world did. Here are 15 banned treats we still miss. Number 1. Candy cigarettes, our first taste of rebellion. They came in boxes that looked just like the real thing, chalky white sticks, sometimes with a red tip to mimic a lit end. You didn't eat them right away, you performed with them. Standing by the bike rack, pretending you were tough like your uncle, or cool like James Dean. Parents frowned, teachers sighed, but we knew it was play acting. Still, lawmakers eventually cracked down, saying they encouraged smoking. What they really did was let kids explore adulthood in harmless ways. Did your fingers ever smell like sugar and swagger at the same time? Number 2. Kinder Surprise, chocolate with a secret inside. Crack open the shell, and inside was a yellow capsule, always rattling with mystery, sometimes a toy car, sometimes a puzzle that made no sense, but always worth it. Kinder Surprise eggs weren't just candy, they were adventure. But in the US, they were banned under an old FDA rule. No embedded non-food items inside food. Never mind that kids across Europe managed just fine. The ban wasn't about danger, it was about distrust. We grew up knowing how to chew, how to think. Taking away the egg didn't protect childhood, it hollowed it out. Number 3. Fruit roll-ups with tattoos, fun you could lick. They weren't just fruity sheets. You could press them on your tongue and reveal dragons, monsters, or silly phrases. Some lasted 5 minutes, others 5 seconds. But the fun always beat the flavor. Then came concerns about food dyes, hyperactivity, and disruption in classrooms. Schools started banning them. Funny how something so silly could be seen as dangerous. We didn't just eat them, we played with them. And for a few sweet minutes, your tongue could say something your voice couldn't yet find words for. Number 4. Bubble Jug, the candy that made no sense. It looked like powdered soap and came in a plastic jug the size of your palm. You'd pour a bit into your mouth, dry, sour, chalky, and then, suddenly, gum. Not great gum, not long-lasting, but magical in its own weird way. No one really knew how it worked, and we didn't care. But health experts did. The artificial dyes, strange textures, and choking concerns gave them a reason to pull it. Maybe rightfully so. But back then, it felt like science fiction in candy form. And when you shook that little jug, you felt like a mad scientist at recess. Number 5. Pop Rocks, the candy that killed Mikey. You tore open the pack, poured it in, and your mouth became a firecracker show. The crackle, the sizzle, it was electric. Then came the rumor, Mikey from the Life cereal ads. He died mixing Pop Rocks with Coke. It wasn't true, but it spread like wildfire. Parents panicked. Stores pulled them. The company had to launch a national campaign just to say, no, your kid won't explode. In reality, Pop Rocks were safe, just misunderstood. But it shows how fear travels faster than facts. We didn't need science to love them, just a little courage and a Coke bottle. Number 6. Orbitz, the drink that looked alive. It sat on store shelves like a science experiment, bright liquid with tiny gelatin balls floating inside, perfectly suspended. Orbitz wasn't really about taste, it was about texture. Kids shook it, stared at it, dared each other to drink it. It felt like swallowing a lava lamp. Some thought it was disgusting, others thought it was the future. But the novelty wore off fast, and rumors about weird ingredients didn't help. Sales tanked, and it quietly disappeared. Still, for a moment in the late 90s, Orbitz made you feel like you were drinking something from outer space, and that mattered. Number 7. Red M&Ms, banned for a dye they didn't even use. In 1976, red dye number 2 was linked to cancer in a controversial study. Panic swept the nation, even though red M&Ms didn't actually contain the dye. Mars pulled them anyway, just to calm the storm. For nearly a decade, they vanished from the bag. We grew up scanning each handful, wondering why one color was missing. When they finally returned in 1987, it felt like an old friend came back. Not because of the taste, but because of what it meant. Fear had taken something small and harmless and made it disappear. All over a color we never had to fear. Number 8, Planters Cheez Balls. Neon, crunchy, gone. They came in a bright blue canister, and once you popped the lid, the smell hit you like a cheese bomb. Not real cheese, of course, just glorious artificial powder that turned your fingertips orange for hours. And that was half the fun. But by the early 2000s, the health police had their say. Too processed, too salty, too neon. Planters pulled them quietly, and for years, the shelves felt duller. They've since made a comeback, but the recipe feels different. Maybe it's nostalgia talking, but back then, fake cheese didn't feel fake. It felt like recess in a can. Number 9, Hostess Pudding. Pie's cold, gooey heaven. You'd find them near the register, wrapped in waxy paper, always slightly squished from the box. One bite, and the crust gave way to a cold, creamy center, vanilla, chocolate, or banana. It wasn't elegant, but it was real, cheap, filling, and oddly comforting. Eventually, Hostess pulled them, blaming low demand and tricky storage. But for many kids walking home from school, that pudding pie was more than a snack. It was a quiet reward, eaten slowly on a cracked sidewalk. Today's treats are shelf-stable and focus group tested, but none of them ever left custard on your chin like this one did. Number 10, Jell-O Pudding Pops, the cold, creamy disappearing act. Smooth, frozen, and richer than any fudge bar, Jell-O Pudding Pops were a summer dream on a stick. Backed by Bill Cosby and beloved by millions, they vanished in the early 2000s, not for safety, but because they were too hard to store and didn't sell fast enough. Reformulations didn't capture the magic, and eventually they just faded away. But if you ever had one fresh from the freezer on a hot afternoon, you remember the cold bite, the slow melt, the quiet joy. We didn't need 5 ingredients we couldn't pronounce. We just needed one stick, one flavor, one moment. Number 11, Butterfinger BBs, crunch in a sphere, gone in a flash. They were tiny, round, and dangerously easy to eat by the handful. Butterfinger BBs took the crisp, peanut buttery snap of the original bar and wrapped it in bite-sized fun, perfect for movies, pocket snacks, or smuggling into school. But they didn't last. Melting issues, messy fingers, and short shelf life led to their quiet exit in the mid-2000s. Fans still ask for them, but Nestlé never brought them back. Some say bites are close, but they don't hit the same. Maybe it's not the taste we miss, but the feeling of being a kid with something small that felt big. Number 12, Lick M&Ms, Fun Dip, Pure Powdered Anarchy. 1 packet, 1 white candy stick, and 3 pouches of neon-colored sugar dust. You'd lick the stick, dip it in, and coat it with as much flavor as possible, or skip the stick entirely and dump the powder straight into your mouth. It wasn't refined, but it was exhilarating. Parents hated the mess, teachers hated the chaos, and nutritionists hated everything about it. Over time, schools cracked down, citing hyperactivity and disruption. But Fun Dip wasn't about behaving, it was about control. For once, you decided how sweet, how messy, how wild your snack would be, and that freedom tasted good. Number 13, Super-Sized Slushies, 64 ounces of brain freeze. They were absurd, cups as big as your face, filled with electric blue syrup and crushed ice. Gas stations let you pour your own, mix flavors, stack the layers. It wasn't hydration, it was power. Then came the bans, sugar limits, portion control, lawsuits. Cities said they were dangerous. But back then, a giant slushie on a hot day felt like a trophy. Sure, it melted too fast. Sure, your tongue stayed red for hours, but it was your choice, your $2, your sticky hands. We didn't need a warning label, we just needed a napkin and a little freedom. Number 14, Shark Bites, the fruit snack that taught us scarcity. They weren't just fruit snacks, they were a hunt. Sharks in red, blue, orange, but all eyes were on the rare white one. If your pack had 2 whites, you were king at lunch. The flavors were decent, but the thrill was in the chase. Over time, ingredients changed. The formula got healthier, and then they vanished altogether. Maybe parents didn't like the dyes, maybe kids stopped caring. But Shark Bites taught us early that not everything is fair and that some prizes are worth savoring. It wasn't just candy, it was a lesson in luck, value, and sharing if you dared. Number 15, School Birthday Cupcakes, banned by allergies and paperwork. They came in foil pans topped with too much frosting and crooked candles. Some were homemade, others store-bought, but everyone was brought with pride. A kid's birthday meant sharing something sweet, straight from their kitchen or their mom's. Today they're banned in many schools. Allergies, liability, nutrition rules. Now it's sealed granola bars and no singing. We lost more than cupcakes. We lost a ritual of childhood. A moment when a whole class paused to celebrate one of their own. Did it always go smoothly? Number. But it was real, and it tasted like childhood, one messy bite at a time. We didn't grow up in bubble wrap. We grew up with sharp edges, real risks, and stories that stuck. Those ridiculous inventions, they shaped tougher kids and sharper minds. Got memories of using any of these? Share your story below. And if this brought one back, hit subscribe for more.